Alright, so since I haven't done any of this in quite some time, I may sound a little rough in some areas, but let's move on. So, as I covered in my last two vids of the same topic, my level of fascination and respect for director Zack Snyder grew immensely in these past couple of years, particularly during the development of restoring a version of a movie that we should have gotten back in 2017. Now, I'm pretty sure by this point everybody knows about the history and troubled production, but just for the sake of not skimming over certain details, I'll give you a brief summary. So, after the release of Batman v Superman, Zack was already set in motion and pretty much close to finishing Justice League, but after suddenly Warner Brothers not having strong faith in his direction, and after the family tragedy involving his daughter Autumn, Zack was stepped down from the project. But since the studio still wanted the film to release on time, they brought in director Joss Whedon to finish up as well as reshoot a lot of scenes to be more in line with the tone of the MCU. What ended up happening was a disastrous production involving a lot of studio interference and later revealed news of very toxic behavior with the crew, all leading to a disastrous result with a incredibly shortened down plot with practically unfinished effects and little to no time given for character development, particularly with the Flash and Cyborg. But after 3 years of fan outcries and campaigning, Zack was finally given the opportunity to complete what is now dubbed as the Snyder Cut of Justice League. All thanks to HBO Max giving them a $70 million budget to finish up existing shots, as well as shooting 2 new scenes during the epilogue featuring the Joker. Now, despite actually enjoying the Whedon cut when I first saw it, because we didn't know at the time, after rewatching it, it's not entirely bad, but even with a 4-hour runtime separated into 6 parts, Zack Snyder's Justice League is a vastly superior version for many reasons that I shall explain now. First off, there's the main villain of the story, Steppenwolf. Not only is his design much better and more reminiscent to his brief cameo in Batman v Superman, but as a character, he is way more fleshed out thanks to his interactions with Desaad and Darkseid, showcasing that his only reasoning for wanting to collect the mother boxes is to redeem himself after betraying his master and wanting to return home, giving you almost a brief glimmer of sympathy for the destructive titan. Second, the overall vibe is more intact to Snyder's previous 2 movies, but still amps up the comedy only when it's needed and doesn't interfere with the more dramatic and suspenseful moments as much. This is most evident with the newly composed soundtrack by Junkie XL, which is just fantastic stuff and brings back selected medleys from both Man of Steel and BVS. The main theme for the League itself, titled The Crew at War Power, is an absolutely triumphant and magnificent piece that, dare I say, goes toe-to-toe with the Avengers theme. It's that good! Lastly, the extra 2 hours given allows selected scenes and characters to have more time to be developed and showcased, allowing you to properly sink in the moments to have a better understanding and enjoyment. Whether it's the more fleshed out version of the Age of Heroes battle with younger Darkseid, to the 2 characters given the most enhanced treatment in the Snyder Cut, Barry Allen, the Flash, and Victor Stone, aka Cyborg. In Barry's case, we get to see the long-lost scene of him saving Iris from a car crash, to the original final battle containing both one of the best moments and pieces of music, as Barry taps into the Speed Force to save the entire planet. Then of course we have what is rightfully said to be the heart and soul of the entire movie, the story arc of Cyborg. When I found out how badly Ray Fisher was treated by Whedon when he took over, I was just distraught, because from the football game that led to his accident, to him accepting his new abilities after his father's death, the extra time and depth given to showcase Victor, as well as what he does with those abilities, is definitely one of the biggest highlights of this movie. It's just making me really crave more to see the scrapped future planned movies, because I really want to see Ray Fisher return for future projects. So in despite of how pretty much everything is improved upon in this cut, there are some minor areas that either I or a lot of people have said that could have been tweaked a bit. The first being that, as of the already mentioned amazing soundtrack, a noticeable annoyance revolves around this lamentation music that plays whenever Wonder Woman does almost anything. In my experience, it did start to get a little repetitive, but it's not that bad, and there are very outstanding moments when it does play. The next thing revolves around Zack's directing style. I already mentioned this in Batman v Superman, but similar to that movie, there are a few occasions in which certain moments get dragged out just a little bit, which usually is covered with the iconic slow-mo, but thankfully it's nowhere as reused compared to the last flick. It's almost like the middle ground between Man of Steel and BVS. The last thing revolves around the two new scenes that were shot in Zack's backyard. Some have said they were unnecessary and just dragged out the ending, but I didn't get that vibe as one, it was a good redemption for Jared Leto's Joker involving a great dialogue exchange with Ben Affleck's Batman, and two, I believe that it was a good extent to showcase how this series of movies would have played out, and even encourage those to demand it to actually happen, which is pretty evident with the new hashtag that's going by, one of which that I am most definitely standing by for, and that's to restore the Snyderverse. But until that day comes, what we have is a movie that fans have been praying for so long, and that has greatly met our expectations, and in some cases even surpassed it. But let's not forget either that this is not just a win for us, because Zack and HBO Max both worked their asses off to make this a reality, and the fact that he chose not to take any of the money showcases that this was truly a passion project that, like the movie itself, was a pathway out of the darkness that he went through and into the light of a brighter future. Which is why, Zack, despite the fact that you're probably never going to see this, I just want to congratulate and thank you for all you've done to bring your vision of the DC Universe to life, and that I'm sure we can all agree that Autumn would be proud of you. Which is why I am greatly honoured to give Zack Snyder's Justice League a high and worthy 8 out of 10.